What's up, everybody? Welcome to this week's live stream. Sorry we're a little bit late today. I totally forgot to actually get the thing set up, the stream set up yesterday. It was on the list and I crossed it off and then I walked away and did something else. So anyway, we got everything rolling now, I think. So we're going to be turning up a pen. So we made some holiday themed blanks last time. And here's the results. Pretty cool looking, I think. So these ones were made with the macro pearl. We used like salt, like the pigment, solid dyes, added some macro sparkle or macro pearl or whichever name brand you want to call it. And these are looking pretty cool. They really look, I think those things look like Christmas to me. And then these ones were a little bit different. We used some transparent, dyes. So we had red and green transparent. And then we dumped some white dyed resin in with it. And so what you get is these areas where there's like transparent areas, and then there's like where the solid white mixes with the red transparent dye. It kind of creates like a solid red. And it's like a slightly different hue because you're mixing white. So it's kind of a cool thing. I got this idea of doing it this way from Jonathan Brooks. And I think I mentioned that he said that in a video on YouTube, but I actually think where I got that, he was mentioning it, I think on their podcast, As the Pen Turns. So anyway, big shout out to Jonathan Brooks for this idea. It really does add some interest to blanks. Now, you're going to have pretty much like totally transparent areas, so you have to watch out with your tubes. All I did on these, we'll see how this works. All I did was used white painted tubes, so I didn't paint the inside of the blank on these. So we're going to see how this looks. I'm hoping that it'll be all right. The biggest problem is when you have a very transparent, areas or a transparent blank. If you don't paint the inside of the blank before you put the tubes in, you may see some glue splotches. So it's kind of a trade-off because if you paint the inside of the blank, that can kind of alter the look of the blank. But if you don't do that, then you might see glue blobs, which is something that you really just can't get away from. So we'll have to see how this goes. We're going to go with a cigar style pen. And then on the lathe, we got the other, like the front half of this, set up. So pretty cool stuff. So let's get a little, the other, that's not the right camera at all. Okay, there we go. The other thing we added was some interference powder with these. So we have red transparent, green transparent, red interference, green interference, and then we dumped white with them. So these ones look, I swear I've had wrapping paper that looked exactly like this. So it's pretty cool. I think we might have added some macro sparkle to the white as well, because there is some macro. So these ones have all kinds of stuff going on. I hope they turn out good. These are available. There's 6 of them, 3 of each, available on my website right now. I think somebody actually already snuck in and bought one, but here's a link to these guys on my website. There's also a link in the description. Like I said, there's only 3 of each. I split them so you can pick either, and I called these ones macro under the listing and these ones transparent, I think. Is that what I did? Let me look real quick, just so everybody knows. Yeah, macro. So it has the macro pearl, and then these are the transparent ones. Like I said, 3 of each available, so grab them before they're gone. And then I split the other ones because we made 2 batches, Obviously one of them is going to be turned, and I decided to go with the transparent one. I wanted to see how this looked turned. But the other 6, 3 of each, are going in the subscription boxes today. Or not today, this month. So anyway, let's see. So who is here first? I think Homerlex was here. Actually, I won your ornament in the ornament auction. I loved that set with the pen and the bell. Mainly I like the bell. Then I saw there was a pen and I was all over that thing. So I won that. I won one of Bruce Jordan's ornaments. I won, I specifically asked Chad who the youth entries were. And I was kind of bidding all over on those ones. I picked one of those up from, let's see, I won one from Kaylee Rice. I think it's a bell kind of thing. It looked really cool, so I was pretty stoked to win that. I went all out on these things, and I was lucky because I wasn't able to get back into the auctions. Usually on auctions you need to be there like at the end if you want to win, because people start bidding right at the end. And I wasn't able to get back in because my parents moved back into their house after a remodel, and it just slipped my mind. I was helping them move. And so I got lucky. I won those. Let's see. So like I said, I won Mike's. I actually won one of mine. I was bidding on it for my mom. And then another one by Kelly Phillips. I think that might have been possibly another one of the youth entries. And then I also won the one from Abby. She works at Turner's Warehouse. So I made out this year on the auctions. It was pretty cool. I should be getting them today. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of bragging about all my wins on Instagram today when I open them up. So it's pretty cool. So let's see, we got Mark's here. Sorry about the late setup on this stream. Like I said, I thought that I did it, and then I walked in and I was trying to find the thing on my phone, and I'm like, and then I'm like, oh, I forgot to do it again. So anyway, we got Steve's here. Let's see here, Old Man River, Mike McEwen, Paul's here. Nice. Kim, you guys, I'm glad you guys saw the notification. I was a little worried. And Paul in Vegas, nice. 33 turnings for gifts, nice. Doing good. Am I missing anybody? Did I say Kim? Let's see here, wow. Cool. I don't think I missed Chris Walters also. So quickly, an update on the knee. I went and got an MRI, and we have. I guess it was good news. Well, number one, I don't need surgery. I think I could have had surgery, but I'm gonna try. It was one of those things where I can not do it first and try and just like rehab the knee, and then if for some reason it's not where I want it to be, I can go back and have surgery later. I'm hoping I don't have to have surgery. So what it was is just a meniscus tear, and I have a newfound respect for people that have meniscus tears, because this was painful. I completely tore my ACL, and although this injury wasn't as painful or bad as that, it was pretty close. I mean, I was pretty laid up for a couple weeks. And so I really thought that I tore my MCL. It was on the inside of the knee, but I guess all my ligaments are intact and good. It's just the meniscus it got torn. So there's a possibility I might even be able to catch this season's snowboarding if I can get rehabbed in time, maybe by like February or March. So I'm pretty excited. It was good news. I got a cortisone shot. And so overall, the knee's feeling better. Still, I don't know. There's a lot of mental stuff that goes with injuries, and so I'm not sure if there's an instability or if I just don't trust it. It can kind of go both ways on that. So anyway, Chris had COVID. Ugh, no fun. I'm glad you're feeling better. Yeah. Gretchen's had she got some sort of I don't know what it was, but she actually ruptured both her eardrums, we think, and it was just random. It was like her head exploded. She didn't, I don't know what happened, but she's still kind of not really feeling good. It wasn't COVID, but I don't know. So it's going around, flu and all kinds of other junk, so everybody stay healthy. Let's see here. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. Oh yeah, I'll definitely bring in the ornaments next week, and I'll share. I'm telling you guys, for anybody, most of you guys probably did look at them and probably even bid on some of them, but I was really impressed with the ornaments this year. People go all out. It's not like they're in the past there hasn't been like amazing ornaments. There's always people that put some just amazing ornaments out, but I'm talking like across the board. When you scroll through all of those ornaments, like there were none where you're like, oh yeah, that's probably a beginner's or something. It's not like you're looking at them like, They were all exceptional this year, and so it was really tough. I was bidding all over the place. And I was like, it kind of got to the point on I don't know, like a few days in where I was like, God, if I win all these, it's going to cost a lot of money. So luckily other people kind of picked up some of those bids, but I'm really happy with all the ones that I won. So our tree is going to be decked out this year with some really cool ones. Oh, you got let's see, Steve got a couple of the let's see. Oh, you got one of the macros and one of the transparents. Nice. First ad break. That's fun. Yeah, so cool. So watch out, guys. These are probably going to be gone. I don't even know if I should even add them to the email newsletter next week. Oh, and for anybody that's on the newsletter, the email signed up for that, it's been crazy. My parents moved and trying to keep up with like orders and help them move and do all this stuff. It's been kind of a crazy, and injuries, sicknesses. It's been a couple weeks that have been kind of crazy. So I totally forgot about the email newsletter last week, but there was not much to really put in it. So I'm gonna, next week we'll be back on track. And then also next week, for anybody that's not signed up for that, I'm gonna be dropping a new blank next week. So make sure to check that out and sign up for the email newsletter, because when I do like new blank drops, the email newsletter folks get a discount on new blank drops and other random discounts that I don't put out on like Instagram or anywhere else. So sign up for that if you want to get in on the deals, and also to find out about stuff, first, because I kind of don't necessarily promote a whole lot of stuff all over the place. So anyway, let's see here. Let's switch over to the lathe view. And let's get some turning going on here. So I can't wait to see how this goes. So again, for anybody that didn't hear at first, so this is one of those transparent holiday blanks. And what I decided to do, partly because I'm a little bit lazy, but I like to be kind of the crash test dummy on a lot of these. All I did was use a white painted tube. I did not paint the inside of the blank. And I just wanted to see how that looked. And so, this isn't necessarily going to be, this isn't necessarily going to tell you how, every single blank is going to look, because it's going to depend on how much blob of transparent area there would be. The risk that I run by not painting the inside of the blank before gluing the tube in is we may see some glue spots. A lot of times I kind of would rather see some glue splotches than paint the inside of the blank, because sometimes when you paint the inside of the blank, it totally changes the way the blank looks. So it's kind of a crapshoot. It's a double-edged sword. You have to pick which one you are okay with. Now, in this case, in this one, the biggest problem is going to be the red transparent. I don't think the green transparent dye, that's pretty dark. And so there's a lot less chance that you're going to see through to the tube in areas that have just the green dye. It's just a little bit less problematic. The red is super transparent though. So one thing that you could do is just paint it red on the inside, and that should kind of help not obscure how it looks too much. Like I said, I think the main areas are going to be the red really. That's going to be see-through, and you might see some of those glue splotches. So either way, we'll see how this one turns out. I think it's going to look fine. It's just two pen turners, especially, we're going to be like, oh, glue splotches. We know what they are. For, if you're making it for a gift or whatever, a lot of people aren't even going to notice it necessarily unless it's like super, super bad. It's not necessarily going to, ruin your pen. It's just a lot of times it depends on what you expect it to look like, what your expectations are. All right, so let's see here. Clyde, I found out that I have old age. Yeah, me too. Because I injured my knee by just barely running anyway. It's kind of a silly injury. All right, let's get this thing started here. All right, let's stop it and let's just see what we're looking like so far. Oh, shaky cam. Trying to get the camera a little closer here. Zoom it in. That's looking pretty good. A lot of colors going on. So like this is where the just green dye, that's a splotch of that. It looks like you got some of that green interference kind of mixing with it. Transparent red right there. Interference red mixing around. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm pretty sure that I can kind of see through and see the tube down there, but it is white. So it should be hopefully reasonable. Now another thing that you can do that might help obscure the tube, and I don't do this a lot, but we might try it today. I can always change if I don't like it, but you can just go for a non like a matte finish where you're not polishing it to a perfect gloss. So you basically just sand up to about 2000 grit and leave it. And so we'll take a look and see what that looks like, because it's on the way to polishing, you know, full gloss. But we can kind of take a look at it, see if that looks cool. That might just be the way to go, you know, and that will help obscure being able to see in on the blank, see the tube basically. There's all kinds of tricks you can use, you know. I love using tricks. All right, let's keep this thing going here. Steve, yeah, this is the transparent one. Hey, Kid Cooper's here, man. I know, I totally forgot to set up the stream yesterday. I thought I did. It was literally on my to-do list. I marked it off and just walked away and went home. And I realized today, when I was starting to get things kind of going, I was like, wait, where's the stream? So this is the like front half, the nib end of the blank or of the pen. I'm gonna crack this other. The dust collector's a little bit loud. I feel like I'm like screaming into the microphone. Wow, that's looking pretty sweet. I'm thinking what was I gonna say? The matte finish might really look kind of cool on these ones. Alright, we're getting there with the shape. I'm gonna stop it real, man. Yeah, these are pretty good. These were the ones that I was like, I don't know, we'll see if they're just terrible. I think the macro sparkle, I wasn't too worried about them necessarily. I felt like those, I could kind of tell in the blank that they're going to be pretty cool looking. But these definitely turned out good. Now these are going to be kind of similar to those macro as well. There is a little bit of macro sparkle in the white. I think we added it just to the white, but it ends up, some of that glitter kind of gets all over the place. So they're very similar, but these transparent ones should have like more stuff going on, more, because you have the transparent and interference, it should be a lot more like depth and stuff going on with these transparent ones. Looks like we got some bumps going on, and I'm going to switch over. Oh, maybe I'm not. Hold on a minute. I'm going to switch over to my square negative rake. I need to swap it out. I was kind of playing around with the beading cutters, so I got to swap that out. These things are pretty fun. I want to do some stuff with the beading cutters down the road on pens. Not today, but we'll get to it. So I'm switching out. A lot of times I find that I can get a little bit smoother lines with this square. And you can just turn the whole pen with a square one if you want. Kind of find that the round cutters cut, I don't know, I can kind of take off more material quicker with those, feels like. And I like to touch up with the square one if I need to. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of just hacking this one today. Okay, I think we need to just sand this thing out at this point. It's looking pretty good though. There's a lot going on with this blank. All right, so I'm going to switch over. I think I'm going to start out with 400 grit, but we're kind of going with that. I've been really liking just starting with wet sanding and going with it. So we're going to go and get some of this silicon carbide paper. It seems like it just works pretty well, you know. Let's see if I can find a piece of 400. No numbers on these. Goodness. Huh. There we go. 400. I'm also going to put gloves on. I find that the water ends up just kind of jacking my hands up. Let's see here. I know. I'll get a hold of you soon, Mr. Cooper. Don't worry. It'll be good. You're gonna like it, I think. All right. So we got some water. It also lets me turn off the dust collector if we just wet sand this. But the silicon carbide paper, I don't know. It's been working pretty well. Abernet works good too, but I don't know. A couple advantages to doing it this way too. And if you're gonna switch up, to me, if you're gonna try something new out, it doesn't really work to just do like a pen. Got to kind of play around with it for a little bit and test it out. And you know, over some time, doing a couple things, you might find situations where this different method of sanding or whatever it may be doesn't really work out so well, or kind of feel like the old way worked faster, or I don't know, better. This is seeming to work pretty well. So I had quite a few like tool marks and bumps and stuff, so I'm gonna have to sand this a little bit more than I usually would. I think the one thing with silicon carbide, if I'm not mistaken, I think that there's like more grit particles. It's more densely packed with particles, and that's part of the reason why I kind of feel like it cuts quicker. However, the thing is, you got to make sure that you're constantly keeping it lubricated. Try and clear out some of that old swarf so it doesn't clog up. Keep the paper moving as well. It can kind of help with it. You didn't see any tool marks? Well, yeah, I could feel them. There was kind of, I don't know, I just really wasn't very smooth on that line today, so there was kind of a big bump in the middle. It wasn't super visible, but I could feel it when I was cutting, and if you just run your finger over it, it's kind of janky. A little bit more sanding needed today. If you can get it very nice and smooth, I mean, you could probably start sanding at like 1,000. You know, if it was no tool marks at all, that gets you can skip ahead quite a bit on the sanding. And there's really no good reason to start lower. You're introducing a lot more deeper scratches, and that means that you have to take out all those scratches on the successive grits, you know. There's more opportunity for you to miss some of those deeper scratches if you start at a much lower grit. So the highest grit you can start with is definitely the best. Now, the problem is you don't want to overshoot it, because if you can't get bumps or ridges or stuff out of it with, you're not going to be taking off a lot of material with 1,000 grit. So if that is too high of a grit, then you're never going to get that sanded out, So you got to kind of play around with it a little bit. You're better off going you know, one lower and doing it less, like sanding a little bit less with that lower grit. Just kind of give it a quick hit, try and smooth some stuff out, and then move on. In this case, I I'm doing shaping a little bit at this point because it just wasn't up to snuff, you know. All right, so we can move on to 600 at this point. I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to wipe off the 400 grit, water and everything. Should probably have gotten a new bucket of water, but we'll be okay. Oh yeah, definitely. If you got a blank that just is not working, you definitely need to. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It seems like I'm way zoomed in. Didn't realize. Yeah, if you got something that's just breaking or just you're just going through like super abrasive stuff like seashell blanks, you might just want to pull out some 80 grit and do a lot of the shaping that way, because otherwise it can just kind of break on you and it's not good. Or you're going to be either running through even carbide cutters can't stand up to a lot of abuse with, you know, like the upper end of abrasive materials like seashells and things like that. You're going to be kind of running through even carbide, so it's not really even worth it. You can just, sandpaper's a lot cheaper, you know. And I would still say, you know, I don't feel bad about it. Nobody's going to care. In the end, nobody's going to be like, oh, you turned that with sandpaper. You know, nobody's going to know. And I would rather be someone that gets through making the pen than trying to be all proud about it and being like, well, it was a really tough one, but I didn't give in and sand it. Well, who cares? You don't have a pen now. So, did you really win? No. All right, so we got our 600 down. Wipe that off. So we're going to move up to 800. I can find my 800 grit. Do I have one? 4, 6. Oh. I guess I don't have an 800. Got a new one. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to move on to the, after this 800 grit, I think I'm just going to go with the Zona papers. I think that's a pretty good transition because like I've said in the past, I think the green Zona paper is somewhere around 750 grit equivalent, maybe. It should be somewhere in that neighborhood. So 800, then moving on to the Zona papers, a pretty good course, I think. I'm going to get new Zona. And so I think I'm going to go with the green and the gray. And I want to see where we're at, how it looks, because like I said, we're going to stop and see what it looks like. Did I do I don't think I did. So I'm going to stop the lathe and do a little bit of lengthwise cross grain, cross scratching. And so the trick with, and this is just up to this, for me, from what I've seen. I don't know. I haven't been taught anything by people that do this a lot, but the trick with doing a matte type finish is it needs to be high enough to where you're not just looking at a bunch of scratches, which you will see some scratches if you really look at it. But what you want to do is get it high enough where it's not just obviously sanded. There's, like all you see is scratches, and you're like, oh wow, they didn't finish that. You want to get above that, but you don't want to go so high that it's starting to look like polished, like super polished. So it'll be kind of tricky. I would say like 2000 grit is a good number, I think, to stop. And that also comes from finishes, like for like furnitures. It also follows suit somewhere in that neighborhood. 2,000 or 3,000 grit, you're looking at like a matte or satin finish. The higher up you go, you can get kind of like a semi-gloss. And then obviously if you go all the way up, that's a gloss finish. So we're shooting for around 2,000. Again, I don't exactly know what the grit equivalent with these Zona papers is, but it should be probably the gray or the blue paper. It's probably where we need to stop. And I like to kind of finish up with, when I'm on that final paper, do a little bit of manual sanding kind of in circles and stuff. That way you're not just seeing like a straight grit pattern. Like if you can kind of obscure those sanding marks or whatever, your eye's just not going to pick that up. Definitely don't want to leave radial. Your eye can really see that. That's why it's good to kind of end with the cross grain lengthwise scratches. Your eyes just don't pick that up as much. But if you can kind of lightly go in circles, then it really breaks up, and it's like the random orbit sander, that idea, where your eyes, there's no patterns that your eyes are going to really pick up. All right, so let's move on to gray. No, that you don't want to buff it, because that's going to gloss, So you just leave it 2,000 grit scratches. And I'll tell you what, I mean, it looks amazing. Do I have, let's see, do I have a, yeah, I've got a matte. Let me go get an example of one. It really, because the other thing is, a lot of us, it's pen makers, I mean, we're always like, oh, we got to get it all perfectly glossy. And so I think the majority of us typically would think like just without really thinking about it, just, subconsciously, a finished pen, like a pen that is done is like really glossy and all, shiny. It's just kind of what we typically expect to see in a pen. And I think that you'd be really surprised at how good a matte finish looks. The other thing is tactile. The tactile feel of it is different, and it's interesting to your fingers. But on top of it, it's also faster, easier in a sense. You're only sanding up to a certain point, and then you're done. So you can kind of move on even quicker. So it's easier and it's interesting. I don't know, not every blank is going to be awesome with a matte finish, but it's definitely worth trying out. And it's not like you can't reverse it. You can always keep going, buff it out, whatever. from, if you can get it up to like 2000, then you can just buff it or hit it with magic juice, and you just basically are getting rid of that step, that final kind of polishing step. So you're basically just stopping early, which sounds like cheating. I think that's the other thing, is a lot of us, it feels like I'm cheating, right? I didn't keep going or whatever, didn't finish it, but you don't need to, if that was the intention. Yeah, I mean, I could probably stop right there. Let me go grab, I'm gonna go grab another, I gotta wipe my hands off. Let me go grab an example. I made a custom pen. This is the one that Chad and I kind of worked on. He helped, that I went down to Turner's warehouse, and he was kind of giving me a little bit of a one-on-one kind of whatever lesson type thing. So it's that one, and it's made with my hot rod blank. Yeah. But it really looked, I did it a little bit on purpose just to make it a little easier, but so that's a matte finish, and it looks fabulous, and I love, it feels like silky smooth. It's different than a polished blank, So I don't know, I recommend trying it out. A lot of people, again, I've listened to that, I'm going to go over to the Sony cam because I can actually see what's happening. I don't know how good that turned out there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Get these out of the way because I think the camera's trying to pick them up. Doesn't want to focus on anything. What's going on here? There we go. So it's different, but it's definitely something to keep in your back pocket, because in some cases it may be, I don't know, it may save you some time or whatever. But in some cases, I actually think it's a better option. What is going on with this thing? I'm going to wipe off the screen a little bit. The lens. Maybe there's some junk on the lens. I don't know. Oh. Really weird. Oh. There we go. Oh, this camera is really pissing me off today. What's wrong with you? There we go. Anyway, I'm showing you that enough. But give it a shot. Let me know what you guys think about it. Tag me on Instagram. Oh, I should probably switch the camera view. That always helps. Yeah, people don't think about it. Like I said, it just it's just something that you don't really think about. But there's a lot of people, especially like in the custom pen arena, that do a lot of them actually, and so that's where I got the idea. I'm like, oh yeah, you don't really need to do all that necessarily. Yeah, that's why I call it the hot rod blank, because it's funny, because what I was actually going for with those blanks was like lava. Like if you see the pictures of the Mauna Kea lava flows, it's like black, and then you have like the lava that's like kind of red and yellow, but the ground is black, like the lava, cooled lava. That's what I was really going for. And I think I could get that if I think what I needed to do was have way less color, like mostly black in them. But anyway, that didn't turn out that way. And so, but I made those blanks and turned one up, and I'm like, dude, that looks like a hot rod. Looks like a tea bucket or something like that. So anyway, let's get in on this. So I think that the gray, I went to the gray only with the Zona paper, and I mean, I think that's fine. You know, again, we're not shooting for glossy look. That we're shooting for this, you know, this look basically, and I think we've got it. Now, what I was saying though is what I like to do. I think I'm going to quit it at the gray. But what I like to do is just do a little bit of very light, kind of circular, like I'm kind of buffing it in a sense. I don't want to mix terms or anything like that, but I'm really not putting like any pressure on this. But what you're doing is you're just kind of mixing up those scratch marks, putting them, they are a little bit kind of circular. Try not to just have like the same exact pattern. Move around a little bit, but very lightly. Just give it a little bit of this kind of buffing. And I find that at that point, your eye cannot pick up scratches at all. It kind of gives you that a little bit of a final, you know, final look, but that's it. I mean, I'm done, basically. And I'm happy to say that, you know, I'm not seeing any, let me get the camera kind of zoom out a little bit. I gotta get, I can't see the screen, hold on a minute. Try and get some kind of like light on this. I'm really not, okay, so I can technically, I know that I know what's going on here. This is one of those transparent areas. And I can see in there, but I mean, and I can maybe make out a glue splotch or something. But like, again, nobody's going to even notice that. So hopefully these blanks, you can get away with just going with white. If there was a really big area of red where the colors weren't like kind of mixed together with it, you would probably see a big chunk. So we'll have to see on the next blank. I don't know if there's, yeah, it doesn't appear like there's necessarily like a huge area of just red on this, like the transparent red. But if you had a big area, you know, that's where you might see a little bit of that kind of glue splotchiness. But so far on this one, and I didn't cherry pick the blank. I just basically grabbed one. So, you know, depending on how I poured each single, you know, blank, you're going to have some variation. But we did swirl this up quite a bit, you know, with the regular stick. This is a pretty cool blank. I really like this. This really feels Christmassy. So anyway, there we go. We got that one. On to the next one. Now, one thing that I forgot to do is I didn't mark, like before I cut these, I have no clue. I really tried matching up the blanks after they were cut, and I have no clue which way it went, you know. So I don't think it really matters in this case. We're just gonna have to kind of see what it looks like after we turn everything. The nice thing is that cigar kits are pretty simple, and you have a lot of, you can make that adjustment and line everything up the way you want at the end. So that's another reason why I really like the cigar kits. There's no, you're not really locked in because they just pull apart, you know. Well, let's see here. What happened, Kim? Let's see here. Oh, he says, I'd take that then. That's funny. Random orbitalish, yep. Oh, you got a cold and an earache? Oh, that's no fun. Gretchen, you know, my wife she had both her eardrums like rupture, we think. So I don't know what the deal is with this earache thing. She has ear issues. She had some problems when she was a kid, but still. Anyway. All right, I need to get a drink real quick, then we'll fire up the lathe here. I got a frog in my throat that just won't go away. That's all right, though. Okay, so let's get going here. We'll fire up the dust collection, get this sanding stuff out of the way. Now, this blank I think would look great polished as well. You know, I'm not saying that this you have to go with the non-gloss version, but it looks fine. Like it really, a matte finish on this really kind of does look good. It's a good blank for that. So either way, it's going to look great. So it's up to you. The one advantage, like I said though, with the matte finish is it might kind of obscure some of the transparent areas. That's kind of why, for anybody that didn't hear that earlier, that's kind of why I was thinking about doing that on this one, just to see. Now, here's another thing, guys, and I'm going to turn the dust collector off while I mention this. So, you could also, you know, if you gave this like the full gloss first, that's also not, you know, you can go back down to 2000 grit or whatever, and like you're not stuck with gloss either. If you go all the way to gloss and you're like, you know, I can really see through there, or you know, something's wrong with it. It just doesn't look right with the full gloss finish or whatever, buffing and all that, or magic juice. Then all you got to do is just sand it again down to 2000, and you can go back down. So don't feel locked in either way. You know. If it turns out like, the gloss, I don't know, I'm not really happy with this gloss, I think maybe the matte would look better, then just sand it up a little bit, go back down to 2000, and you're good to go. All right, here we go. Let's get this. I'm just going to leave the gloves on. Hey, Tim's here. What's up, man? Oh, like an actual cigar? Yeah, no. Cigar kit or cigar style pen. Sometimes people call them. right. Doing a little bit better job on the shaping on this side. It's not as, I was all over the place the last one. I hadn't turned anything for a little while though. A little rusty, I think. This is looking pretty good. We got a pretty big red, transparent red area right there, kind of maybe, but overall, I think we're still good. Now the one thing is, if technically they were the two blanks were supposed to meet up, like I can't flip them. I was saying that you got quite a bit of, but you can turn it and line things up to kind of look the way you want. But I don't know if I had it the right way, you know, direction-wise. I just couldn't find any lines or anything that seemed to like line up. It's weird. And sometimes that happens, and usually if that's the case, if you really can't even line anything up on the outside of the blank, chances are it really is not going to matter once you get it turned.
All right, we're looking pretty good here. I think I like the shape of that pretty well. Oh, by the way, Tim, I saw your email. That blank looked awesome. You're doing a great job. So for everybody else, Tim sent me a picture of his latest blank. He's really doing a good job on him. It looked great. Okay, I think we're good now. Let's see here. Mixing and turning, nice. I like that. All right, so we got a nice matchup on that, and this one's a little bit bumpy. I'm gonna take a little bit more material off on this end. The cigar kits, you end up having to kind of really get it low on the clip end of the blank. It's kind of a weird matchup. It goes from like super thick to pretty thin on the clip end. Still a little bit of a bump there. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. Got a few tool marks, but I think the 600 grit will take care of this. It's not as crazy bumpy as that other one. There's definitely a little bit of like kind of, I don't know, I get tool marks or whatever right here, but I had like dips and divots in the it wasn't looking good on that first half. it needed some sanding help. All right, so let's slow down the speed first. I'm gonna hit it with 400 real quick on this one end. There's just some. This is kind of what I was talking about, is just to make sure that I get these like little ridges and stuff out. I'm just gonna go with this 400 for a little bit. Just kind of start there, but quickly move to 600. I don't need to sand a whole lot with that. We'll go back up to the 600 here. In fact, I think I'm going to wipe it off just to make sure that we don't have any 400 grit particles or anything weird going on. And then really kind of act like this 600, because a lot of times your first grit is kind of one of the most important. You need to make sure that you're getting out any ridges, tool marks, bumps. You got to get that surface flat, or else it's really going to not look its best. That gloss, the way that gloss happens is it needs to be a dead smooth surface. If you got bumps and ridges and stuff, it's not going to look glossy. So, really you want to make sure that you're getting it, do a good job on that first. You don't have to press hard or anything, just make sure you're giving it enough time to get everything nice and smoothed out. And then once you've done that, then the game is just removing the previous grit scratches, successively making those scratch marks finer and finer until they're basically gone, according to your eye. Where did I get the TBC bushings for Cigar? I got those at tbcbushings.com from Brian over there. You can get them at Turner's Warehouse as well. I kind of like the TBC bushings brand better. Brian does a really good job. He hand makes them all. And if you need a specific kit, he will make them for you. Like custom ones. So you can get any kit or whatever you need, including he also even makes diamond painting pen mandrel or bushings, which are pretty awesome. And on top of it, he also makes the adapter bushings. So you can get anything from him, and they're really, really good quality. Again, not to say that the Turner's Warehouse ones aren't good quality. They're fine, and they're a little bit cheaper. But I definitely really like the TBC bushings ones. Very high quality. They'll last you forever. One other cool thing about what Brian does over at TBC bushings is he marks, so for like a cigar style pen, actually I have the other bushings, let me show you. So for two-piece pens, he even puts a little indentation, so because sometimes you're like, oh, which it's easy. It's always this one's the biggest one, goes to this part of the blank, right? But then you have these two small ones, and you're always like, oh, which one's which? And unless you pull out calipers every time, it's kind of hard to tell. Which ones go together, let's say. And I don't know if this is going to come out, but I kind of need to get the other ones off too. But on these ones, I don't know if you guys can tell, but there's like a little bit of a like an angle on the inside of each one of these, and that matches. And when we get done with this other one, I'll show you the difference. But these two go together, right? These are like, these ones are the ones that go on one blank, and then these ones have a different. They don't have this little like angle cut on the inside. They're just flat. So it's pretty cool. You know which ones go together, and you're not gonna, you can. I'm sure that I've messed up and accidentally put the wrong ones together, but you're far less likely to mix up your bushings. So he does really good stuff with these things. I really commend him on a great product. And he also sells those resin jug, little silicone topper. So a lot of you guys, if you're using Alumilite Clear Slow, the B side, like you'll get your cap like stuck. Like it gets all junky and stuff on the B side of Alumilite Clear Slow. So he came out with these silicone little stopper things that you can use instead of the caps to seal your bottles. Now I was using them for a while, but I got a new set of jugs, and the cap doesn't seem to be for some reason it's not getting, I'm not having the same problem with it. It's like a slightly different cap than I've had in the past. Different bottle maybe even, I don't know. And so I haven't been using it lately, but the minute that thing gets stuck on there, I'm switching out to those. And I told you about the adapters. Those things are awesome, the adapter blanks. So, you know, a lot of you guys probably have been using mandrels for a while. So you have like the standard bushings. If you got a bunch of them, you can just use the adapter bushings, and it's still going to be better than the mandrel. The mandrels just, I know there are better ones out there and all that stuff, but the most accurate turn is going to be between centers with these things. And so you're still a little better off, even though you're adding like an extra thing. You know, it's not directly just bushings and then blank. It's bushing. So there's like a little bit of a connection there, but it's still more accurate, let's say, or whatever, concentric. There's going to be less slop than using a mandrel, even with those adapters. So what I always recommend is if you want to get into, you know, you want to switch and start doing everything TBC. For pens that you make, like let's say that you make a lot of cigar, you know, kit pens. If whatever you make a lot of, go get the actual bushings. Like get the cigar style bushings. But for all those like random pen kits that you turn like one every year, maybe, or whatever, you just have like, you know, there's like random ones that you don't turn a lot of those pens. And you have the mandrel style bushings. Those are the ones that you use. Don't go and buy special bushings for those ones that you don't turn a lot. Just use the adapters, and it'll work perfectly fine. But I do recommend, if there's certain kits that you turn a lot of, then I think it's worth just investing in the TBC bushings for that specific kit, so you don't have a bunch of bushings hanging out. It'll be the most accurate kind of turn. Going to Alaska for Christmas, that's cool. That'd be kind of cold, I think. Seems like it. I would like to go to Alaska and snowboard. It'd be cool. All right. I think I've sanded that to death at this point. Went a little further than I needed to there. We'll finish up with this. This is the 800. Wipe that off, and then we'll move over to the Zona papers. And then again, we're just going to go with green and then gray. We got our kind of matte finish, and we'll be done. Just need to assemble. Avengers assemble. How to get the bushings and adapters off when they get stuck. Are you talking about like when you put a CA finish on, Kim? Thompson Pass, close to Valdez. Cool. I will probably not. I don't know if that's going to happen ever, but someday maybe. It's tough because Gretchen doesn't snowboard. She tried. She's just not into it at all, like I am. So if you're not really willing to put in time to practice, and if you don't really enjoy it, like that much, then it's pretty hard, especially like in your 40s, to be like, oh, I'm going to learn how to snowboard now. That's just not really happening, you know. Totally, if it doesn't matter what age you are, you can learn how to snowboard at any age, but you got to want to, you know. If you don't really want to, and she's a little bit afraid. So mentally, if you're kind of it's, you know, trepidation about it, then it's going to be really hard to learn. So I'd have to go with someone else, and we'll see. But maybe I'll just go by myself. She wouldn't mind going to Alaska. She just probably ain't going to go snowboarding with me. These are some pretty cool looking blanks. I'm happy that I did. I was debating whether or not to do these. I'm really happy that I did. And while I was doing it, I was like, if these things kind of bleed together, it's going to be ugly. It's going to probably be brown. Green and red mixed together is brown. So probably don't want to pour these ones early. Bushing turns on the adapter, but won't pull. Huh. Yeah. Oh, nice. You told him he loves it. I always send people there. It's where all, like I said, all mine are. So let me know what you think of him. I think you're gonna like him. He really does a really good job. I don't know how to get him unstuck. I've never had him get stuck like that. The only time bushings have gotten stuck for me is if you see it. Well, here's an idea. Maybe there was some like CA glue or I don't know, something. Maybe soak them in a little bit of acetone. Maybe give that a try and see if they pop loose or something like that. Otherwise, what I would do is, yeah, I mean, I would probably just use a couple pairs of pliers and just try and rip them apart. If you could get something kind of thin wedged in between the two and maybe pry it a little bit, like a really thin screwdriver kind of thing. I'm kind of guessing that's probably not doable. I don't know. Actually, another thing you could do is maybe try freezing that, put them in the freezer. If they expanded, so like the freezer, if you cool them down, they should shrink a little bit, or whatever. Maybe that might work. Cool them up, or maybe just try the fridge first, and then if that doesn't work, maybe try the freezer. That might shrink them enough to get them apart. Seven millimeter bushings, centers. Seven millimeter. I'm not sure exactly what the. Oh, so like those. So like not exactly like the same exact adapter. Even still, if they're stuck together like that, they might have expanded a little bit or something, and if you cool them off, that might help a little bit. All right, I've sanded this to death. I'm gonna do very lightly this way, and then I'm gonna just kind of finish up, like I said, lightly going kind of in circles, kind of mix. You're just trying to obscure any sanding lines from eyeballs. Your eyes can only see and perceive certain things, and especially patterns, if it's just straight lines of something, or if they were circular, like going around, like your eyes can really pick up those radial, the normal scratches on pens. That's why it's always good to end with lengthwise. But if you can kind of just go in circles, like I said, I'm doing this very lightly, almost barely even touching it. This should kind of help you out a little bit with getting that matte finish, because essentially you're leaving deeper scratches in than you normally would have. And the higher you go, eventually your eyes literally just can't even see the scratches. And also the light bounces off and it's not being diffracted. It's like a direct bounce, the photons or whatever bounce off, and there's no grooves to like make it go in a weird way. That's what makes your eyes pick it up. And so if you can just kind of obscure this a little bit, the light's just not going to bounce off in kind of like all the same direction. It's going to be kind of weird. So kind of helps out a little. I find that it helps out a little bit just to do that little extra light sanding with that same grit in kind of circular sort of motions. But again, you don't want to just do it repeatedly the same way. Try to kind of make it as obscure as possible. All right, so definitely more transparent areas on this, I would say. And you know, like if you get the light, if you have this like with a raking light and all that stuff, I mean, you're gonna kind of see some scratches. That's just, so don't worry about that. It's just like without pulling out a microscope, it should just look kind of like a matte finish without a bunch of scratches. So let's see. So there's a little bit of a transparent area right there. But again, it's not like, it doesn't look like anything. I know what's going on, but a little bit there. It's pretty cool. So you get pretty good depth. One thing that I will say, I probably went, I would, next time I would probably actually go with less less of the green dye that I add to the resin. So if anybody that's trying to make these blanks, wow, I got a bushing kind of stuck. There we go. If you're trying to recreate these blanks, I would probably, whatever I put in there, let's see, I can look it up. Let me look up and see how much I put in there. I might even cut it in half next time. Again, the green is much darker. Like the red is super transparent and it's, you know, whatever. I guess it doesn't, I don't know, it's hard to say exactly what it's not. But it's not as dark as the green. And I think I could probably go for a lighter green on these a little bit, which in this case would mean that I would need to put less green dye in. Yeah, I tend to glue the bushings on, but I don't, it depends. If you do like the medium, if you put medium CA on and you're kind of putting a lot on, that's when it's very easy to get them stuck on there. I like to put on very thin coats of thin, and so usually I can just kind of tap them and they kind of pop because I'm not building up huge layers of it. Let's see here. So we did, oh, that's not right. I'm like, what's going on here? We had 130 grams total in the green resin cup, and we put 1 gram of green in there and 0.5 grams of yellow. So I would probably go with like, and I think I mentioned it when I actually did this, I would probably actually flip-flop those and go with 1 gram of yellow and 0.5 green and see how that looks. So just try to, you know, so overall though, I put 1.5 grams of dye in there. probably don't need that much necessarily. But if you flip-flop those, the yellow would make it a little bit lighter green. I'd have to see what this looks like. I'm not entirely certain. Yeah, I still think so. Yellow is super transparent and light. That's not going to darken it. So I might flip-flop those if you were going to make those again. Definitely, if I make them again, I'm going to probably flip-flop them. I'm actually going to write a note. This is where you want to like go back into your notes and be like, next time, try something different. I think on the next one I would try 1 gram yellow, 0.5 grams green. See where that took me. Okay, so let's get the. Did I switch views? I did. Okay. Get the thing here. Got to go get the kit. So I'm just going to go with a gold kit. I think that would look pretty cool. It's kind of Christmassy. Silver would look fine too. I tend to favor silver usually, so I think it's probably a good idea for me to go with gold. I think it's going to look great, but heck. Get this thing. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure that there was any, I don't know that it really would have mattered which way I put these things. So I don't think anything really lines up necessarily. So we're okay. Let's go get the kit here real quick. Where's the kit? There it is. All right, let's see what's going on in the Delrin bushings. Yeah, I don't like the conical ones. That screws up the way that I apply finish. They don't work, and I could turn them down, I guess. So I'm guessing you mean these cone things. A lot of people really like them, and they definitely are a good way to go so that you don't get stuff stuck, the CA finish stuck to them. My only problem is they stick way above the blank, and so the way that I apply it gets in the way. So I don't like these. I would much rather just actually make Delrin bushings, like the same, like the original ones that I was using. Just make them out of Delrin. That would be awesome. Even if they were thinner, like I don't need to make like a new set for every single thing, but just make a bunch that are like kind of like a Sierra size maybe or something like that. So I wanted to show you guys the difference. So I'm hoping I can show these. Hopefully the camera will pick it up. If I do it this way. So I don't know if you can see, but there's a little bit of a chamfer on the inside of both of these ones. So you know that these two go together, and there's not there's no chamfer on the other two. I don't know if you can really see that, but it's pretty cool the way he does that, so that you know which two go together. And then especially for the cigar, I know that the biggest one goes with the shorter blank on the inside. So it's pretty neat. I don't know if any of the other ones have anything like that. I don't really have any of the other brands of TBC bushings, I don't think. I had some from a long time ago, and this company's out of business now. TBC bushings are way better than those ones were. They were kind of, forget who made them, but they were pretty janky. Okay, let's assemble this pen. Ooh, that's tight. That is really tight. Got it. Whew. What are the Delrin? Oh, okay. The Delrin ones are these cone things. The other problem with these is, as far as I know, you'd have to use a mandrel, so that also makes me not really like these things because I don't use mandrels. But yeah, so they just go on like this. I mean, I guess maybe you could just maybe even just put like a 60-degree chamfer on the back side and then just use them TBC. I don't know. Like I said, I don't really use them, but what I don't like is when I'm applying these, they're higher, you know, and they don't really fit. I don't know. I would rather just have, I guess you'd have to make specific bushings for each one. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I don't usually have problems with them sticking, so I just use the metal ones, but I don't know. That's how the Delrin ones work. A lot of people like them. Like I said, I find that it affects the way that I can't get the finish on as smooth, and so it's just more work. And like I said, I don't really get it's not a problem to where, for me, where it's getting I don't get them so stuck that I can't get them off. You know, they may be kind of stuck on there, but it doesn't take much to get them off usually for me. So I haven't really explored more about that. This one, man, that's tight. Okay, I'm not. No, it's kind of stuck in there. If you have something that's super tight, you're probably better off actually just taking a little bit of sandpaper to the part itself. Sometimes, especially like if you got a finish on this and it's like expanding, you could jack your finish up if you're just trying to like force it in there, you know. But you have to also be careful. You don't want to take too much off, then you're gonna have to glue it in. So hit or miss. Okay, that's working good. PSI turn. Oh, okay, yeah. And let me know if there's other ones that I don't know about. Those are the only ones that I know of with those Delrin bushings. All right, so let's see here. I'm just looking at now. One thing about going with this matte finish on this one, you know, it's not as like bright, the colors. If you went for full gloss, it's obviously going to be a lot brighter. So just, you know, there's trade-offs with doing it the way that I did. I think got quite a big of the, you know, green, dark green spot. I think I'm going to break that up with the clip. So it's not just kind of that big blob of green, and it just kind of looks dark basically. So either way, that's what I want to do with the clip, and then I can kind of play around with how I want it to actually look, which, like, where I'm going to have everything line up. So let's just attach that. That's pretty nice looking. I like that. So now I'm just going to kind of look at this, figure out which side. I kind of like having this, like, this area right there in the front. So where'd that go? Right there. There we go. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Get on camera. There we go. Not too bad. I like the way these blanks came out. Got a little bit of sparkle going on. You can see some of that macro kind of worked its way into some of these areas. And again, that's the one thing about these, like the macro sparkle or like the 24 or 14 karat nugget, those like chunky kind of glittery micas. It's not really mica. It's really kind of just glitter. But all we did was add it to the white. All right. And it still kind of works its way into other areas. So we got a little bit of bling throughout the blank, even though we just added it to that one color. So just kind of keep that in mind. Now with the macro pearl blanks, I mean, obviously this stuff, we got it all over the place. You know, all three colors have it. So they're going to be super blingy. But I think those are also going to look amazing. I actually kept one of those for myself. We might, if I don't think of something cool to do next week, we might actually turn one of these next week. Even though there's probably not going to be any blanks left, but I'm very curious to see how these look too. So I kept this one for myself to kind of see what's going on. I got to see what they look like, you know. Pretty cool though, pretty cool. Yeah, I know. It really reminds me, we had this wrapping paper that really looked like this. Now, I would say that it probably is more like the kind of glossier, I guess. I don't know if this is glossy, but kind of the blank where it's a little more vibrant than the matte. I would say that it reminds me a little bit more of that, especially like the red. You know, so again, it kind of depends on what you really wanted, what you want it to look like. Because I don't think, I don't know, I don't think that going full gloss would really make, I think you would definitely see through the transparent areas a little bit more. I don't know that it's really, there's enough of it to really be problematic. You might see some glue splotches here and there. But you can all, you know, the way to deal with that, if you don't want to deal with the glue splotches, is to paint the inside of the blank. It may obscure, it may slightly change the way the red looks. If you went with white to paint the inside of the blank with, it's probably going to lighten the red a little bit, because even the white tube did. So if it's right up against the inside of the blank, it may make it a little bit, that red even lighter, which I don't think would be a problem. Black would make that red darker and kind of possibly everything else. I think you're best off, if you want to go for the painting the inside, is probably to go with red, like a gloss red or something for the inside of the blank. That would probably be the best way to go for me. But I think white would work as well. So either way. All right, so there we go. Kimberly's putting off sanding. Well, I did too, you know. And so I don't know. What do you guys think about the matte finish? It does save you a little bit of, you know, a little bit of time. It's not going to save like massive amounts of time, but you know, we stopped at the gray. I would typically go from gray, maybe the blue with the Zona papers. Sometimes I'll go blue, and then I would just excuse me. Once I'm done with that, either gray or blue, then I would go to the Magic Juice polish, or you know, if you buff, then you would go to buffing. So all it's doing is saving you that kind of final like polishing steps, but it's pretty cool. Saves you a little bit of time, and I think it's different. And really, you know, depending on like customers, if you're someone that sells pens, again, from their perspective, they're going to see a lot of glossy pens all over the place. It might not be a bad idea to throw a few of these in with, you know, your glossy pens, because some of your customers may really gravitate towards something like this, where it's not just, you know, flashing in your face. Fingerprints may, you know, that might be the first thought in their head, is they see this super shiny thing that's just going to, you know, grab fingerprints. These things are not going to keep fingerprints anywhere. So it's pretty cool. Let me know what you guys think about that. And if you do try this out with the kind of matte finish thing and post pictures, tag me on Instagram, especially Facebook as well, and let me know what you think, and let me see what you did. All the diamond painting pens have a matte finish. Yeah, they do feel good. That's one thing that I noticed about I can take these gloves off now. That's one of the things that I really noticed about when I made this pen. This was kind of the pen that I used like all the time out of all the custom fountain pens that I made, just because it's interesting. I don't know, it's weird. It feels different. It feels like super silky smooth and quite nice in the hands. And actually, Amy, Chad's wife, she had mentioned also that she really likes the feel of matte finishes on the fountain pens that she has as well. She really liked those. So it's interesting. Like I said, people, it may be a good idea to offer that as well. And you might be really surprised at how many people really gravitate towards that side of things. Now, I will say that there are some blanks that I don't think a matte finish is really the best way to go. I don't think it's going to look as good. So, you know, you have to just kind of play with it. But, you know, you saw a couple options. This one's got a lot of different stuff going on in it, and it looks, I think, fine with a matte finish. This one with kind of your like really, I don't know what you would call this, but this, you know, these colors look good. So many of them will look good. There are a couple that I just don't think a matte finish is really your best option. So you'll have to kind of play with it. And, you know, the beauty is you can kind of, all you got to do is stop sanding at 2000 grit or somewhere around there and look at it. And if it looks kind of like garbage, then, you know, go for the full gloss instead. So it's pretty cool. So I don't know if there's I don't know. I think a few people at least bought some of these blanks. So there are a few of these. We have the macro. There was only 3 of each style of blank. And I don't have any messages. Shoot. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the inventory levels are. I do know that at least 2 of one and 1 of the other is gone at this point. But if there's some left, you can go and check it out. They're available on the website. I can go to my website. It'll tell me if they're out. No, it looks like we still have some. Looks like we got both. Yeah, I think there's still some of each. Probably only 1. I don't know. I don't know how many I have on inventory, but they're available right now. Like I said, but there's only 3 of each available. And if you're a subscription box, you know, subscription blank box thing person, then you're getting 1 or the other of these. Okay. I split them in half. so that you'll be getting that next month. I know it kind of sucks that you're going to get it at like December 25th, like the end of the year after Christmas, but I still think they're pretty cool blanks, even if it's a little bit late. Yellow and green, yeah. I suppose it depends on which kind of yellow, but yeah. Some of them don't, they're just not awesome. And I've seen and talked to other people that have tried it and they're like, yeah, this one, I think I've actually seen people like post on Instagram and they're like, this didn't work. We're gonna do this full gloss. So let's see here. Yeah, safe travels. I will say hi to her. She'll appreciate that. So anyway, guys, that's all we got today. So next week, like I said, we're either going to be making some blanks. I'll have to kind of think about what's going on, what's coming up. We'll either do some pours, or we might turn the other one just to see what the macro ones look like. Might be kind of fun. So either way, I may just do that on my own as well and then post pics of it. So your subscription box hasn't come. It'll come soon. It'll come soon. Now that we got this one done, I had to see how this thing turned out first. So anyway, guys, thanks for joining the fun today. I hope you guys have a great rest of the weekend. Get in the shop, do some turning, do some resin casting. And again, as always, tag me on Instagram if you guys post pictures or anything like that. Let me know that you're out there so that I can follow you guys and see what you guys are working on. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of the evening. Thanks for joining the fun, and I'll see you guys on the next stream.